This is our season. Palm trees breezing, opposing teams bleeding.
Welcome back to Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back. And we're a week into football. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this, the off season, and you'll hear me say this throughout the season and complaining in off season. The off season for me is the worst part of this. I love that we have actual content to talk about. And today I'm joined by my special guest, friend of the show, Bob Rose, contributor for the New Orleans Saints for Sports Illustrated. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Guys, I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. Thank you for including me in your show. We might be rivals on the field, but three of us are good friends off of it, and I value and treasure that friendship.
Yeah, man, I really love your insight. I mean, you've really kept me informed on what New Orleans has been doing in the offseason with some of the acquisitions and how you're seeing some of these guys through camp. So it's been really cool to kind of follow that, to keep an eye on the rival and see what they're doing. And of course, we can't go without mentioning my man KB, Ken Barrett, not to be mistaken for Shaq Barrett. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great. We got a big one coming up from what I hear.
Yeah, huge.
For both teams, really. For both teams.
Yeah.
I've been saying all off season that the Saints' first 5-6 weeks are very juicy for them. If they can squeeze by the Bucs week 2, Saints could be looking at 5-1, 6-0 before they really hit that, that big, the same stretch really the Bucs have. I mean, the 8 of those teams on the schedule are not fun. Yeah. So this is a big game for both teams right now. I know the Bucs got 2 more after that, in this stretch, but we got to win one at a time. And I know everyone this week is talking about rivalry. I am naming the Saints the nemesis, not the rival, the nemesis, whether it was 2002, whether it was 2020. Both times, we lost both times to the Saints. Obviously, we got the little revenge, but, this team hasn't beaten the Saints in a regular season since Ryan Fitzmagic.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah, it's been some years. And, the cool thing about how the NFL kind of lays out their schedule, I know for you guys have 2 division games right off the bat.
Three, back to back. They got all 3 of us.
So you guys get that out of the way, and then, you kind of focus on the rest of the season. But where I want to start at, I do want to talk. I don't know if you got to watch the Bucs versus Dallas game, Bob. Did you get to see any of that?
Yeah, a little bit. Anytime you guys are on TV, which with as long as you got Brady is going to be a lot. I tune in when I can, and whatever I miss, I'll go back and rewatch portions of it through Sunday Ticket. So I caught a good portion. Yeah.
All right. What were your takeaways from that game?
You know what? You guys are bringing a great defense to the table, especially that front 7. I know losing Ndamukong Suh and Jason Pierre-Paul thins you out, but it doesn't make you any less talented. The Bucs are going to bring it. We saw them blitz Jameis Winston in that first meeting last year, basically as soon as they got off the bus, and I expect that same kind of strategy. Secondary, I'm big fans of Carlton Davis and Jamel Davis, or Jamel Dean, and love Antoine Winfield. But I'm very interested to see, the Buccaneers have always had problems with deep receiving core, and we saw that manifest itself in the playoff loss to the Rams. This is not the same Saints receiving core that the Bucs have seen for the last 3-4 years even. Not only is Thomas is healthy, but you're bringing Olave and Landry to the table too. I'm interested to see how the Bucs combat that, especially if the Saints manage to protect Jameis Winston. That's a big if. Offensively, looking at Tampa Bay, it looked like they were having some problems up front, which is to be expected, with the line shuffling. Interested to see what's going to happen with Donovan Smith and his elbow, if he plays, and if so, how close to 100%. And now that Godwin is out, I know Saints fans, and not that we cheer any injury, but Saints fans are a little bit happy. That Godwin is going to be out.
Gardner Johnson not being there. I mean, that was the matchup. So both teams out on that one.
Yeah, exactly. And with Tom Brady is going to find the water boy for a first down if he needs to. So the Saints are still going to have to be strong in coverage no matter what, and they're going to have to bring their A game as far as pressure, and hopefully take advantage of a banged up Bucs offensive line.
So, watching the Atlanta Falcons game, and I'm going to bounce around here. There's nothing set in stone how we do things, but it brought up my some questions that I had about that Atlanta Falcons game. Were you shocked at how Atlanta played against New Orleans? I know they're a division rival, but you look at you just look at their their
Makeup.
and it's I just drew a blank. If you look at their roster, it's like from top to bottom. I mean, I would have thought that, with the moves that New Orleans had made, I thought it would be a lot more of a lopsided game.
Yeah, so did I. And we've seen the Falcons beat the Saints in the past, but it's always been behind Matt Ryan and playmakers at wide receiver. That's not how Atlanta was whipping New Orleans. And make no mistake, they wiped the field with New Orleans up and down for 3 quarters. They were doing so by being more physical than the Saints. They outcoached the Saints. They out-executed the Saints. That's where I was shocked. Dennis Allen and company, they didn't seem to come out prepared. They didn't seem to come out motivated. To what we all know how talented Cordero Patterson is. I was worried that he'd make plays on the edge because an athlete like Patterson, that's his MO. That's not the way he was racking up yards against us. They were running downhill right at him. They're going to have to fix that. New Orleans is real quick because I still believe, even though Atlanta outplayed New Orleans for the bulk of that game, I still believe that Atlanta is going to be near the bottom or at the bottom of the NFL standings. And listen, I know it's week 1. It's these first 2 or 3 weeks are just an extension of the preseason, but the Saints were getting beat in ways that they've been beating other teams in recent years, and that has me very concerned going into week 2.
Now, I have to ask this question. Do you see is coaching a factor in how New Orleans played, or is this just the same team we saw with Sean Payton?
Coaching's always going to be a factor because in the grand equation, it's certainly part of it. We were hearing all offseason that much of the continuity that Sean Payton had instilled was going to remain the same, and I still believe that that's going to be the case. But when a team comes out as unmotivated and unprepared as New Orleans appeared to be, first of all, I am going to put the onus on the players. I mean, these guys are adults and they're pros. It shouldn't take someone to motivate you to run through a brick wall, especially against a bitter rival. But when they didn't do so and they were getting beat around and pushed around early on, that's when you really need the coaches to step in and do something either emotionally or schematically. And I didn't see a lot of that being implemented. It's week 1 for the coaches, just as it is the players, and it's a learning experience. But offensively, especially, and offensively is where we expected the biggest changes, but Pete Carmichael remains as the offensive coordinator. So in theory, a lot of those schemes are still in place, and the protection problems that they were having and the fact that they never could get Alvin Kamara on track, they need to come in with a different game plan, number 1, and a solid plan B fallback if that initial game plan doesn't pay off.
So, KB, go ahead and jump in, man. I'm sorry. I'm just hoarding the whole thing here.
No, we have a guest, man. We're good.
So, one of my other questions that I did have was, do you feel like New Orleans may be overlooking Tampa, or is Tampa that team that New Orleans just gets up for to play to bring their A games?
It's definitely the latter. I suspect, and you never hear the coaches or players from New Orleans admit this, but I suspect that maybe they overlooked Atlanta a little bit. This is a bona fide disliked rivalry between Tampa Bay and New Orleans, at least on the field between the players. I know the fans try to beef it up. Atlanta is always going to be the Saints' rival from a fanship wise, but you look at how intense and how physical these Bucs Saints matchups have become. And it makes me wonder, maybe did the Saints overlook Atlanta even just a little bit? If if nothing more than subconsciously, I expect a very motivated and a very fired up Saints team for this one, because they know what's at stake. They know who their chief rival in, not just the division, but maybe even the entire conference is.
Yeah. For me, it's Atlanta. I hate Atlanta with a passion. I don't even have I rarely have Atlanta guests on here. That's just how much I dislike that team, the city. I just dislike Atlanta, period. And that's been that way since we got in the division. The Bucs got in the division, the NFC South.
Mm-hmm.
They have been my rivals. So I guess I view this game a little bit different than I do like a lot of Bucs fans that are newer look at the New Orleans Saints as their dreaded rival. But for me, it's still Atlanta. Atlanta is, I've got, I've made a lot of friends that are from New Orleans. We trash talk each other off camera and we have fun with it, but it's not the same with Atlanta, where I want them to lose every single season. And I just want them to make bad draft picks and just continue to be in obscurity forever if I could have it that way.
Kenny, I'd love to get your take on this, because you're much more public in the Twitter forum than what Gene is, and I've seen you get along with more than plenty of Saints fans, but I've seen you I've seen you put those fisticuffs up against some of them too.
Well, I mean, it goes both ways though too. I mean, Bob, you have this quarterback. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he used to play for the Bucs, and that sparks a lot of Twitter anxiety for a lot of
Yeah.
people anyway.
On
But
both
for me,
sides.
that's what I mean, for both sides, because I can pull my receipts for Saints fans 6-7 years ago. We
Crab
don't have
leg
to get into
comments,
all
yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
but the whole thing is, again, I'm using the word nemesis because whether the teams want to see themselves as a rivalry, I think both teams understand that they're in each other's way to get to that ultimate goal. Obviously, it happened in 2020. The Bucs prior to 2020 weren't in that stepping stone, and then 2021 just wasn't the Saints year with a lot of different circumstances. All it took was the Rams to beat a team that they had beaten, or that, excuse me, that had, they just had to win one game, and 49ers wouldn't be in, Saints would have been in. That's all it would have taken, despite all the quarterback issues and injuries and all that. Now we have an upgrade. The Bucs showed to me last week that they're a different team than what they were the past 2 years. The Saints showed me they're a different team than what they were for the past 2 years. Jarvis Landry's MO was, I'm going to be Mr. We love Slant Boy here in Bucs land, but Jarvis Landry's MO was, I'm going to take a 2-yard pass. I'm going to catch 15 passes for 40 yards in Miami and in Cleveland. He goes for over a $120 on like 10 catches, in the Saints versus Falcons game. He's stretching the field more vertically. Mike Thomas is catching fade routes. Jameis Winston. I think the whole Saints Falcons game came down to that Mariota fumble. But to me, the turning point of that game was the moment Jameis Winston was limping on the field after it was a sack or a pressure at least. And next thing you know, whether if it was Jameis, whether if it was the staff, the O-line was allowing pressure that didn't happen again. And I'm not going to say to me, I think Jameis is best when he has that chastity belt. It came off in the fourth quarter, and obviously it worked out pretty well. So the Bucs are now this ground and pound. I'm going to run behind 2 rookie tight ends. We saw Plus put in Mr. Keefe and Mr. Otten. That's their MO now. They want to run the ball. They want to protect Brady more so. But Todd Bowles is the head coach now. It's not Bruce Arians. It's not. And again, it's like with the Saints. You might have the same, people from the same regime, from the same, coaches around them, but that one identity is changed a little bit. So that's what I'm excited for, is to see, are the Bucs going to try to run up the Saints? Leonard Fournette was getting 5 yards a pop, but the Cowboys aren't the Saints. Micah Parsons is great. Cam Jordan is one of the best run stuffing defensive ends in the past decade. And obviously the Saints, no matter who's in the middle of that defense, they're going to be good, and they're going to be big, and they're going to be tough. Right? David Onyemata, to me, has been the epitome of that. Now he's more of a name. 5 years ago, David Onyemata, no one really knew who he was, but he's been that same player, steady Eddie throughout. You know exactly what you're going to get. So what's going to happen here is are the Bucs still going to force that down the field passing will one team get a 2-score lead? Like that can change the whole dynamic of this game if the Bucs get a 2-score lead versus the Saints, because the Saints, I mean, they have Kamara, they can go chastity belt on Jameis, get 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards.
Yeah.
Or if they're down, next thing you know, 16 points get scored in what, 6 minutes?
Yeah, and you got it, but you got to
swing.
throw in Taysom Hill, which the guy scares me every. I don't care what people trash talk this guy a lot, and why are you paying all this money for? He's an offensive weapon, and I've been saying this.
Not even just offensive; he's a football weapon because
He's a
he
football
does.
weapon.
I mean, he the one of the big plays of the game was that punt at the end. He would have blocked it if he wasn't held.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's a lot of weapons here, and so this is going to be a great test to see where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, in the scheme of things. For me, I always look at the first 6 games. I would say the first 2 games. I know you mentioned 3, but I always look the first 6 games to kind of get an idea or indicator on what your team's going to look like, barring injuries or, just you get a consistent look at this team and you get a great idea. And this is going to be, in my opinion, the first test that the Bucs have really faced. I mean, the Dallas game, I wasn't really concerned about that much more than health-wise, but when you look at New Orleans Saints, this is a true test right here.
Well, the 2 teams the Bucs have really struggled against are the Rams and the Saints, both of which they try to throw 40, 50 times a game, both of which they have severe trouble beating. So that's where I think this running ideology, whether if it works or not, they're going to try it, Bob. I'm telling you, the first quarter, Lenny's going to have 10 carries. It's going to happen, whether if it's 1st and 10, 2nd and 9, they're going to try.
I don't know about 10 carries, but I can see 10 touches with like 7 or 8 of those being rushes for sure. Because, and I've seen a couple people mention it in the comments. The one time that the Bucs have beaten the Saints since Tom Brady came to them, it wasn't because of Tom Brady. It wasn't because of the receivers. It was because of defense, turnovers, and Breeze was probably more than half dead. But it was also because, give credit to the Buccaneers offense too, because Leonard Fournette was effective enough in that game to move the chains and keep control of the football. And if the Buccaneers can do that kind of thing against the Saints, and I'll go back to Cordero Patterson again. I love Cordero Patterson. I'd love to have him on my team, not as a starting running back. Lenny Fournette is 5 times the running back that Cordero Patterson is. If the Saints can't buckle that chin strap up and stop the run and force Brady to beat him, and I know this sounds like insanity, we got to force Tom Brady to beat us, but that's been exactly the way the Saints have beaten the Buccaneers 4 out of the last 5 times.
That's very true. That's very true. So again, what are your keys? What are your keys to the game for victory for the Saints, Bob?
Well, we just touched on it for the what the Saints need to do defensively, and it's no secret that you need to beat up Tom Brady and get pressure in his face. And I don't care whether he's 15, 25, 45, 55. He's always going to lose composure. That Saints secondary, which by the way, guys, will probably is not official yet, but they're going to be without Paulson Adebo.
I know our boy Evan Winter's been talking about that one. I didn't know how official it was going to be with that ankle, but that's concerning.
Yep, so, I can't reveal my source because it's not official, and we can't make it official as a site yet. But I'll put it this way: if I was a betting man, I'd lay about 80% odds or more that Adebo does not play. So that pretty much equals out Godwin not playing for you guys. Lattimore versus Evans is always going to be pay-per-view worthy TV. And I look for Lattimore to continue to, at the very least, hold his own in that matchup. But you have to get pressure on Brady because Tyrann Mathieu, Marcus May, they're two new safeties, and they're athletic and versatility upgrades over Jenkins and Williams from last year. but you cannot discount the communication factor between two new safeties and the cornerbacks. That worries the heck out of me. It didn't worry me much against Atlanta. It worries the heck out of me coming into this one. If you don't get Brady on the ground, or at the very least rush his reads, he is going to make plays down the field. It is that simple. And obviously the Saints have to stop the run to make that kind of possibility even happen. Offensively, it goes hand in hand. First of all, they have to, just like the Buccaneers want to do, they need to establish balance early. The Saints do. You're not going to be able to run the ball down the Buccaneers' throat necessarily. I'd be shocked if that happened, but you have to at least establish the threat to stave off that pass rush a little bit, which, by the way, the Saints guards, Andres Pete and Cesar Ruiz, right.
Throw the tape away. Just throw it away. If I were a Saints fan, it never happened. You just don't ever want to look at that. And as Bucs fans, we understand that. We started Caleb Benhock once upon a time. But yeah, which is crazy. Well, and the thing is, I mean, they're not bad players by any means, but that
Caleb Benhock was bad.
No, I'm talking about Pete and Ruiz.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Pete's definitely
I don't know, Pete
lower tier than
I've
Ruiz,
seen Saints fans. I've seen a couple of Saints fans get kicked off of Twitter for a couple of weeks for making comments about Pete. So,
well, think about where the Saints have been guard wise for the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
I mean, we're used to elite play. Granted, Drew Brees and Tom Brady, those types of quarterbacks like stout, like the actual U for a pocket. But yeah, I mean, Jameis was not to blame. He wasn't good, but he wasn't to blame those first 3 quarters. But that fourth quarter, again, he was limping. The next thing you know, everyone was whipped into shape.
Yeah, and the Falcons falconed. They stopped blitzing. After 3 quarters of nothing but success with it, they didn't get burned one time that I can think of. They inexplicably stopped. And Jameis coming out of that cryogenic chamber like an Avenger, just turned it on. And then this is good Jameis, bad Jameis.
Dalton was warming up when he went to the sideline. That's what I mean. So it could have been it for the day.
Does Jameis Winston concern you a little bit, or are you comfortable with his play?
I don't think he's given the reason for Saints to worry other than the Panthers Week 2 game last year. Other than that, Jameis has been fine with the Saints.
Yeah.
He has, but the thing about Jameis last year was that he was so gung-ho for avoiding turnovers that he took unnecessary sacks. He didn't get good protection, grant you, but there were times where I thought last year he could have released the ball, thrown the ball away, or perhaps took a chance, and he didn't do it. He's terrified of making that turnover. But if Jameis Winston is on your football team, and I don't need to tell you guys this, you're always going to worry about the turnover. I love Jameis's ability to move the football. I love his passing ability. He can literally hit any point on the field.
His escapability too. People don't talk about his pocket presence.
Completely underrated. You are right. The kid has always had heart, but he is going to be geeked for this Tampa Bay game. And that's
he
putting
didn't get
it mildly.
A one last time, and he went out before halftime.
Yeah, and I think he was on his way to a big outing that day.
Y'all were going to beat us by 3 or 4 scores that game. I'm just going to be honest. It was bad.
Yeah, I think so too.
Bad.
But even then, Jameis had some early jitters, letting the ball sail on him a little bit off target. He needs to control, and he needs to control that emotion early on and channel it. If he can do that, then I am completely comfortable with Jameis Winston in this Saints offense.
All right. Well, there we go. That's pretty exciting right there. KB, what are your keys to the game?
Get a turnover. I mean, we know it's with Jameis, but what did we see last week? I'm just going to shout out his name, Antoine Winfield Jr. My nickname since we drafted him, Bob, has been Baby Badger, and obviously you now get the Badger over in your court. But we needed him in the Todd Bowles scheme to be a single high safety. And Todd Bowles said for the past 2 years, he is not coming down. He is not coming down. He'd bring him down maybe a handful of times a game just to throw a different look at a defense. He is the slot cornerback now, and he is playing in the box. And we saw him make a TFL. We saw him create pressure. We saw him get an interception, which Thank God he intercepted it because Carlton Davis read that ball too and was right behind him. And we know how Carlton Davis's hands can be. But we know Jameis Winston and quarterbacks in general, a game's going to come down to 5 plays. 5 plays for the quarterbacks, right? Jameis in his history with the Bucs, 3 of those became interceptions, and they changed the landscape of a game. So obviously 2020, we created some fumbles that helped, but Drew Brees wasn't going to turn over that ball in the air, and obviously it happened late. But it's what can you come up with? Kamara is the buck killer. Thomas has his hits and misses. I think both sides, you can have Davis and Thomas cancel each other out. You can have Evans and Lattimore cancel each other out. You can have Jordan and Wirfs cancel each other out. So is David Onyemata going to make that big play? Is Marcus Davenport going to make that big play? And we mentioned Donovan Smith earlier. So the second part is not be average at the line. Be average at the O-line, because you can't expect them to hold these Saints to 0 pressures and no sacks and all that. Maybe six pressures, 1 sack. Like, that's a realistic goal. Be average to above average on the O-line, no matter who's playing. Establish that run. So turnovers, be average at the O-line. Establish that run. Don't run on 2nd and 9, Byron, please. Not on 2nd and 9.
And I think a name that we haven't talked about here, and we're all familiar with him, is Julio Jones.
Yeah,
I was going to say Keith. I was like, when are we going to get I'm telling you, watch that Cowboys Saints game. They actually shouted him out because Keith was on the field 15 plays. We ran behind them like 12 of them, and he accounted for half of our rushing offense. Him and Otten together. I'm not even kidding. They've changed that whole identity. We ran behind him, keeps running at a fullback. He's, jumbo tight end. I'm ready for the Bucs to come out with that play action, because teams like the Rams and the Saints don't bite on play action because they don't believe you.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to make them believe it. Like Bob was saying earlier, you have to, he said the Saints' key to the game is make the Bucs believe that they're actually going to try to run.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is an exciting game. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a definite benchmark to really show where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, and that's kind of, it's a different NFL where we don't have that last preseason game anymore. So you're having to play catch up.
We saw it for everyone else, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so many bad games in week 1. I mean, from Joe Burrow struggling to, there was a monsoon in Chicago, but
look at
Geno Smith coming into to take Russell Wilson's revenge game. I
know, in that game, that was the most frustrating game, and that was like, if this was like maybe 3 or 4 games in, I don't think you would see that, but I don't know. That coach is an idiot, personally.
Well, speaking of kickers, while we're on this subject, because we know that's what the Broncos did, that was terrible for that game. There's a kicker in New Orleans that's back, and Big Nut Lutz he's back.
Yep,
he's a threat.
Like he never left.
Yeah, he sure is. Everybody wants to talk about Andrews Pete being back, Jameis Winston back, Michael Thomas back, and all those are huge. Will Lutz belongs right at the top of that list too. You could legitimately argue that kicking issues cost the Saints up to 2 to 3 games last year. Yeah. And like you said earlier, KB, the Saints only needed 1 more win to sneak into the playoffs. Anytime you go through 4 kickers during the course of a regular season, that tells you how valuable your kicker is. At Lutz, for my money, I'll take Lutz over anybody in the league. But I think it's
like Tucker is the only person I put in that. But to me, Lutz is tier 2. He's with the McPhersons, who showed he can even struggle. Those kinds of guys. Like Lutz is up there with the rest of them.
Yeah, but that changes. You're right, and that changes your game so drastically when you know that you're basically guaranteed points if you could just get to an opponent's 40-yard line.
That changes. He's 16 and he's good, especially in the dome. In the dome too, because that's where this game's going to be. No outdoor elements in this one.
Right, and that changes your coaching strategy. That allows you to be a little bit more aggressive rather than let's get 5 more yards, let's get 7 more yards. No, you can go for the jugular, knowing that you're guaranteed at least 3 points as long as you don't turn the ball over or take a sack.
Yeah, that's huge.
I mean,
Oh,
we saw. I mean, if you put Brandon McManus, God bless him, for almost making that kick.
And he is a hell of a kicker too.
Give Will Lutz 64 in the dome. That's what I'm saying. So if the Saints have the ball last, Jameis, if he doesn't need a touchdown, Jameis, I mean, Bucs fans know about this from the Giants game and Gene's Falcons game and all that. I mean, he can get you in field goal range.
freaking bring that game up, man.
No, but what I'm saying is, if it comes down to the last possession, Jameis has shown the ability to get his team in field goal range. It doesn't usually end in touchdowns; it's field goals. And if you have that confidence in a kicker, I mean, Matt Gay is no longer with the Bucs. He went to the Rams and became a Pro Bowler, but that rookie season with the Bucs, he wasn't good. And then we went 4 years since Matt Bryant without good kicking, and we struggled for it.
Yeah, we've dealt with a lot of deficiencies over the years.
And what is Suckup's weakness? Suckup's weakness is a big leg. He's probably 48, 50 and in. He's not. You cross your fingers and toes if it's above 50 with Suckup.
Yeah.
Lutz, you don't. He's probably 80-90% from that range and above.
All right.
It's points.
Well, Bob, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, man. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. And, I want to talk about your next article. What do you have coming up next?
First of all, you can follow me, Bob Rose over on Facebook, at BobbyR2613 on Twitter. And as you guys mentioned before, all of my articles are streamed through the Saints News Network. And we do all the coverage, all the New Orleans Saints coverage for SI.com, the Sports Illustrated site. And the article I'm currently, we're at that point of the week where I'm previewing the matchups on each side of the ball for the Buccaneers and the Saints. This morning I came out with the Saints running attack versus Buccaneers rush defense. Tomorrow morning it's going to be Saints passing attack versus Buccaneers pass defense. And then I'm going to flip the script through the remainder of the week and wind up my week probably on game day, but it might come out Saturday night with either key matchups to watch or key players to watch. John Hendricks and I kind of flip-flop on that. He'll take one, I'll take the other. I don't know which one I got this week. But I am coming in for the game too. My beautiful wife Lauren and I are flying in on Friday. She wants to go to at least one Saints game in the Dome every year. Now I'm going to be covering a couple.
When we talked about this last year, Bob, you were afraid to go to that game. Now you're not.
No,
I just want that on the record. That's all I want to say.
Kenny, the record hasn't changed. I still am. It's her. She's like, I want to see Tom Brady play. And I said, well, look, and she goes, and I know you want to see Tom Brady lose. I said, I do, but I don't know how I'm going to. I know how I handle it at home when it happens. I don't want my next visit.
At least it's only happened
guys.
Once to you.
Right, but I don't want my next visit with you guys, to be with the blinking of an ankle bracelet in the background or anything like that.
Just stay away from the loose cannons, and you'll survive.
I do have a question. It's kind of off a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed a lot more violence at sporting events, and I kind of wanted to get your take on this because this is. I used to see the videos every so often. I know it happens, and I'm guilty of it back when it was a big sombrero, and there were times where I would get into it.
Even Dak in the Bucs game, Dak was getting drinks thrown at him when he exited the field. Like
this is,
at Jerry World. Like how are we in this today?
Yeah, and I guess my question is to you, what do you see that's changed that's led to a lot more violence? I mean, whether it's coaches, whether it's just some of the things that we've seen, and again, these are just, I know that there are scuffles, but we're seeing it at a higher level now, and just kind of getting your thoughts on it.
We are, and it's at a more harmful level at that. On the field, and I joke about violence, and it's no joke. I do throw crap around and break things at home. I'm relatively civilized in public, and I cannot see, and unless someone disrespects or threatens my wife or kids, I cannot see myself getting into a brawl at a sporting event when I'm a fan. Now, I am a former athlete. I have been on that field, so I understand. Not as a football player, and certainly not at this level, but I obviously understand the intensity. But guys, fans, there's no reason for it. There's certainly no reason for you to jack up somebody that's wearing your own favorite team's uniform. But there's also no reason to do it against the opposition's fans. These are words. They're not going to kill you. Maybe cut down on the booze. Maybe cut down on the testosterone. I don't know what it is, but it's not hard to behave yourself in public. You guys are going to wake up Monday morning whether the Bucs win or lose.
Right.
I'm going to wake up Monday morning whether the Bucs win or lose. Sometimes I'm a lot less active on social media depending on the outcome, but that's just it. And maybe that's it too. Maybe all these keyboard tough guys that like to come on social media, maybe they show a little bit of gusto once they get a couple drinks in them. But honestly, there's no excuse for it, and there's definitely no excuse for gang fighting somebody. For 3 or 4 of you to jump one person or to kick somebody when they're down. These players get paid millions of dollars to do this and to wreck their bodies. There's no reason why you should care more than the players getting paid millions of dollars. Your life goes on. I tell you the things to fight about. You fight about your family, you fight about your friends, and you fight about your own personal health and well-being. That's it. The sporting events, you're going to wake up the next day, win or lose.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's kind of where I am. It's just shocking to me, some of the things that I've seen. And when you talk about fans fighting each other, I can't wrap my head around it. I mean, where is it worth losing your job? Because now we're at a point right now where cancel culture is a thing. And if you've watched the show, I never really talk about this, but why put yourself in a position to where your employer could see you engaged in fisticuffs or something like that and you lose your job? I mean, and the thing is, what this is your team, you're embarrassing the fan base, so to speak.
Well, it's twofold too. So I mean, there's an identity, that comes with being a fan. And what are the 3 things Bob, mentioned? He mentioned family and friends and health, right? Well, let's throw health out for the second because that's not your identity when it comes to being a fan. You have your friends on social media, you have your friends at the games, you have the people that you go to the games with, you have your family, whether if that's, the people that you go to the games with, whatever. With the mob mentality that we have on social media, people expect, Saints fan goes into Bucs Stadium. You cheer when Tom Brady throws an interception. It's a 9-0 game. There's a red out and you're the only Saints fan there and you're having a good time. That's more than fine. You can yell things at people, but don't ever make it personal. And it goes both ways. Right. If you're the one receiving it, you have a choice. I mean, the whole Martin Luther King, turn the other cheek. You have that choice to not engage with them. And you also have to remember there's security there, but the security, probably one security guard for every 100, 200 fans, they're not going to be able to stop anything.
Right.
So if you are able to, just be like, it's like at a movie theater when someone's on their phone or making noise, hey, can you please stop? And if there's an issue, go get a manager. Same idea to game. If someone's being that obnoxious, that drunk, that, futile, that person's probably not doing that same thing with you. They're doing it with others. Right. So you gotta be able to take yourself out of that situation and say, hey, he's not attacking me. He's saying something, he or she's saying something about the team that I'm a fan of, but that's not my identity. Not coming after my wife, not coming after my kids. Think about what Gene's saying. You got to protect yourself. Bob, you said your family. You once you get that arrest record, that's public record.
That's right. And again, you let's talk about work. I mean, we're living in an economy right now where your job is more valuable than it was maybe a year ago now.
And that jersey you want is twice as expensive than what it was 10 years ago.
Exactly. I just I guess it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. You know, I've had Saints fans come and make comments. I normally don't trash talk back and forth with strangers. It's normally people I know like yourself, and me and you will tend to go back and forth in DMs.
Can I throw Jono Barnes out there? Because
Yeah,
I think he's established that line of where you can laugh at yourself, you can laugh at your fan base, you can laugh at the other person's fan base.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like if I, give Jonah some shit, and then someone takes that the wrong way, them and friends can gang up on that thread, and Jonah just comes in and says, "Hey, we're just friends. Like we're just having a friendly little gaff here."
I've had it, and personally,
but that's two parties understanding the situation, and again, that's why it takes two to tango. It takes two to fight. But again, don't be that person who gangs up, like Bob said. Like,
absolutely,
can't do that.
Well, Bob, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Gene.
No. Please go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, it was to piggyback off of what Ken said. All three of us had jumped in on threads where Saints fans were attacking one of you guys, or Bucs fans were coming after me. Look, back off. Yeah, back off. It is nice to know that we can have friendship, that we are such good friends,
and you can give each other shit too.
Yeah, of course.
That's what friends do. Your family and your brothers. That's what you do. You have some friendly competition a little bit.
Yeah, but for me, I'm not going to go look for a total stranger just to bash him about his team.
Yeah.
If I don't know you,
And the people who do that generally, Gene, have 10 or less followers, and they have a logo or an avatar as their
or an egg,
as their profile.
Right.
Exactly. Well, Bob, before you go, man, we do the hot seat here, and we had questions 1 minute. You see the clock up there right under my name. So I thought, I've got some questions, and these are all, and just so you know what the relationship is here, there's no wrong answers. These are basically it's overreaction week. Week 1, people are jumping out the window. People are already booking their trips to Arizona for the Super Bowl, and just after 1 week. So I've kind of based some questions on this just after week 1 of the season. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit you with 10 questions, and I'll give you 1 minute. You'll see the clock on there, so you know how I cheat sometimes. So this is on the level here. So let me know when you're ready. Again, no wrong answers. You know how this works. And I'll go ahead and ask the first question and start the clock.
Well, listen, I mean, it's your home field, so I expect a little bit of clock manipulation, but fire when ready.
I deflated some questions, so just I'm honest about it. All right, here we go. After week 1, Baker Mayfield is still a good fit in Carolina. Buy or sell?
I'll buy that. I don't think the Panthers are going anywhere, but I think Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback on their roster, and if they can run the ball, he'll do just fine.
Buffalo Bills win the Super Bowl. Buy or sell?
Sell. The Bills have got to be on everybody's top 5 ranking as number 1 after week 1. But I have Cincinnati coming out of the AFC in my preseason predictions.
All right. Pittsburgh Steelers, contenders or pretenders?
Pretenders. Mike Tomlin is going to have every team he coaches in contention. The Steelers just don't have enough horses to compete.
Miami Dolphins, contenders or pretenders?
Pretenders. That roster is vastly overrated, and I'm still not convinced about Tua as a quarterback.
Indianapolis Colts will not make the playoffs. Buy or sell?
I'll sell that. I think Indianapolis wins the AFC South, that division. It's not because I'm a fan of the Colts or I like their roster. I just think that division is that bad. The Jacksonville Jags are eliminated from playoff contention. Not yet. Listen, I love Doug Peterson as a coach. I think they're still a couple years away. But they might be in contention through September.
Okay. Denver Broncos will win the division. Buy or sell?
Sell. And I'm a Bronco fan ever since the Elway days. I would love to see them pull it off. I think they're at best the 3rd best team in that division.
Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. Buy or sell?
He's a man I don't like, but I don't even like to use his name.
Don't worry,
no,
he's immunized everyone, so he's good.
Yeah, right. No, listen, I'll sell that. Maybe at the peak of his career, he was a bad man. I just think Rodgers is at the end. He's now at the point in his career he needs the receivers to succeed, and he doesn't have them.
He also needs a Just for Men commercial. Sorry.
There you go.
Yes, he does.
Atlanta Falcons are a better team than the Carolina Panthers. Buy or sell?
Sell. I don't like the Falcons roster. You gotta love the way they came out in the season opener. I just think the Carolina Panthers have more talent on both sides of the football.
The New York Jets, contenders or pretenders?
Pretenders. And it's the Jets. I don't have to go into the reasons why.
So, and again, I cut the clock. I loved your answers. I had to cut the clock because these are really good answers that you were giving. You were giving clarification on your answers. But, the question about the Jets, if the Jets had a legitimate quarterback in, I don't know, Wilson, the MILF killer, would you consider them a contender?
No, because right. They're still the Jets. And I do like Saleh as a coach. I like the hard-nosed mentality that he brings, and I like the draft picks that they have made to try to build that team. The organization has had zero direction for so long that until it actually happens, I can't have any faith in the Jets whatsoever.
I'm gonna go piggyback off of that. I believe that you have to change your ownership. The Jets are like the Cowboys, and I will say this, I'll die on this hill, that the Dallas Cowboys will not be relevant again until the Jones family has their hands off of that football team. They just cannot get. They can't. And I don't know what it is.
Well, who's going to buy them for like $7 billion though? That's the
right. Maybe Drew Brees and Tom Brady will go co.
Well, you think that
and
right?
hire Sean Payton,
or maybe
Derek Jeter made just as much, if not more, than both of them. And Derek Jeter could barely afford the Miami Marlins, and he was basically voted out as president in 3 years.
Yeah,
true.
Like these guys, they might know football, they might know baseball, but these billionaires don't care.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. So, a lot of these games, and it's cool to watch football. NFL Twitter is a lot of fun. I know people were losing their minds about the Denver Broncos games, and the Monday after week 1 is always going to be overreaction Monday. Always. Yeah. I remember when it was 4 games for the preseason, it was still overreaction Monday because people couldn't wrap their heads around their teams not doing what they wanted them to do. So I look at this Denver team, and I think the coach is going to have to trust in his quarterback a little bit more. I think that's where they failed at. I think if Russell Wilson had autonomy to run plays the way he wanted to, and I can tell you that he didn't, because they would have handled the clock management and that last 50 seconds a lot better than what they did.
Man, that was pathetic.
Disgusting.
And
it was almost as if the fix was in. And they
watching the Manning cast and watching Peyton being like, okay, and then Eli, once the timeout finally happened, like his face was just stunned. It was like those two obviously know football just as well of anyone. Nathaniel Hackett had Aaron Rodgers for most of his career. You would think, hey, I'm going to trust my quarterback, right? I mean,
and it's a quarterback that's going to be in Canton. It's a quarterback that you gave 3 first-round draft choices and a very talented tight end and defensive lineman to get. You trust him. That's an investment. And if I'm the first-year coach, I want to invest in that Hall of Famer. Your franchise is invested in him physically. You're damn well going to believe I'm going to invest in him emotionally because he's who my job is tied to.
Exactly. You're married to this guy.
Well, also from a kicker standpoint, so the two best places obviously to kick in are Denver and Arizona, right? Thin air, blah, 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 blah. This game's in Seattle. Even
Mm-hmm.
when Justin Tucker, who has the 65-yarder, the greatest, the longest click of all time, it hit the upright and went in. It's not like it was clear. Like,
Right.
there's not kickers who are just kicking 64-yarders. And then I think someone put up, McManus, who's a fantastic kicker, by the way,
Yeah.
probably in the lower end of that tier 2 of kickers. I mean, he almost made it, sure, but he almost made it
Mm-hmm.
in Seattle of all places. That's not the place. Do you try something? If that's in Denver
Right.
at home, that's a
Right.
different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But to put he's like 0 for 9 of his past like 60+ yard kicks, as most kickers probably are or should be.
Right.
Like, so it's not like he has this history of making 60+ yarders. So it's like
And
Bob's
if
saying
you
you
listen,
made the investment. You put the chips in the table,
that's
as
right.
they say.
Yeah, you've been working with Drew Lock. You've had Drew Lock for whatever, how many years? You bring in Russell Wilson. This is your guy. You're married. You guys are married. You got to trust in your partner to go out there and do what they need to do. And we didn't see that. We saw a guy that's like he ran some conservative crap, and instead of put the ball in his hands, let him read the defense, let him get settled in and do what he needs to do. But I don't know. I as a fan of my team, I've seen this for years where we didn't see where the coach trusted the quarterback, and I believe that there were games that were left on the table because of it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times where I saw that Geno Smith has no damn way. There is no reason for this guy. Now this guy, he really believes he's an elite NFL. He's been in the league for 8 years. For a reason, he's not started. There's a reason.
Well, it's not just them too. They have Jerry Jeudy, who they invested a first-round pick. Another good receiver in Cortland Sutton. It's also the fact that it's not an analytics move either. It's not like, we've seen moves, hey, we went for 2 that extra time. Brian Dable went for the win and it worked. What happens if it didn't, type of thing.
Right.
There was no statistical, analytical, there was no kind of explanation for it, because let's say he goes for 4th and 5 and doesn't get it. Are any of us saying, shit, you should have just brought Brandon McManus to kick a 64-yard field goal, right?
Never hear me.
None of us would be saying that. Like, that's the issue, is there is nothing to back that up. And he, after the game, he tried to, and then Monday he comes out and goes, no, hindsight, we shouldn't have done it. But he tried. He tried to back that up, and that's the issue, man. You can't make those decisions.
And because of a decision like that, he better not make that same decision throughout the season, or he deserves to be on the hot seat. True story. And
Gene's hot seat. Just kidding.
these are mistakes that you see in preseason. These are things that this is what preseason is for. And
players don't play in the preseason anymore, though.
Coaches do,
right?
But coaches,
yeah, but they're not, but who's Gene? Who's the Broncos' backup quarterback right now? Without looking,
it's about a game time situation. Is I guess where I'm going.
Yeah, but aren't game time situations different when you have Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning?
100%. And to your point, when you think about it, if you have a quarterback who's a lifetime backup, and then you have Russell Wilson out there, aren't you going to tend to give more leeway to your starting quarterback, Russell Wilson, based on he's a future Hall of Famer? Aren't you going to give him a little bit more leeway to do some more to help you win games? I don't know.
Absolutely. Because again, if you're talking about a Russell Wilson or the dude in Green Bay, I told you I don't like to even say his name.
Let's call him Man Bun. We'll refer him as Man Bun.
I'll call him Nick Cage. That's all I'm going to call him.
I call him Slippery Pete, but I got myself in trouble with that.
But on this show, you're free to call him Slippery Pete if you want.
Fair. But yeah, you got any of those guys, Brady, Breeze, even the young guns, Herbert, Burrow, Mahomes, etc. If I'm the coach, I'm asking these guys what they want to do in this situation.
100%.
If they tell me, kick it, coach, and I don't know of any quarterback who's ever walked the face of the earth that would, but if they tell me kick it, coach, I'm kicking it. Yeah. But You know what? And again, Nathaniel Hackett, as a first-year coach, if your quarterback if your Hall of Fame quarterback says, "I want to go for it," and you say go, and you don't make it, well, guess what? Now you're sharing accountability here, and
Exactly.
you're not taking the full force of the sun down on your shoulders, because
Yeah.
you could say, my Canton-bound quarterback wanted to go for it, and who am I to say no?
Exactly. And I guess to me it was so frustrating. And I guess
you can even
this kinda
take it
goes
off
back
the
to my-
quarterback though too. You could be like, hey, as an offense, my coordinator, my quarterback, we all talked, we all agreed. Boom. That's all you need to say. You need to say it was Russ's call. You say it
Yeah.
was the offense's call. My offensive line, they were ready. My wide receivers were ready. My
Mm-hmm.
quarterback was ready. My coordinator had the call drawn up.
Yeah,
We
and
could have made a
again,
better
Ken, like you
call.
said, you not only got Judy, you not only got Sutton, but Javonte Williams and Melvin
Melvin
Gordon are
Gordon.
outstanding receivers out of the backfield.
Exactly.
And Russ will. One of the few things that was working for Denver all night was Russ hitting those backs on the run,
And that
and then
tight
picking
end,
up
too.
extra
That
yardage.
tight
Yes.
end had like the first 5 catches of the game. I don't even know his name. He wasn't even Albert O. I at least know who Albert O is. I don't know who that, the 260-pound white guy was, but he caught the first 4 passes of the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sorry. I just and I thought that the first 3 plays leading up to that 4th down was very conservative.
Well, to
And
me, it was letting the 30 seconds run off.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
at least think about it. Like you could have kicked with 20 seconds if you really
Mhm.
to let that clock roll. It was just
and
it was
I
hard to
don't know if
watch.
that's like a prerequisite for, I would say 80% of the coaches in the NFL is to play not to lose rather than playing.
Lovey.
Oh,
He had
Lovey
an
Dovey.
overtime game and punted it at the
Yeah.
40, 50.
Sweet Jesus, I saw that.
And
Well,
the
I mean, at
tie.
least with the Houston Texans, a tie is a win, though.
Is it though? Because that's the thing. The Texans are, I mean, they can fire Lovey next year. No one's going to bat an eye. If I'm
Nope.
Lovey, just like the coach last year, I mean, I'm going out swinging, at least if I'm in their
Yep.
shoes. I'm going to
I'm
get
going-
paid the 5 years I signed for regardless.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm getting rid of the kicker. I'm going for it every 4th down. That's pretty much how,
Maybe an over-exaggeration.
no extra points on my team. This is XFL style. We're going to win every single thing. We're going out
Yeah.
there.
But who's that high school coach that's like undefeated and like onside kicks every time, goes for 2 every time, doesn't believe in a punter, so they never punt. He's just full Madden, baby.
That's
I
what
love
I'm
it.
talking about, man.
Guys,
That's what's
your
exciting.
viewers are asking for predictions before we jump off of the air, and it just hit me that we didn't get predictions.
We never pick. So, Bob, if you
Okay.
want to pick, go for it. Or if you want to tease your next article where you make a prediction, go for it. But me and Gene, ever since the 2019 stretch or 2020 stretch of you all kicking our ass, us losing to the Chiefs, us losing to the Rams, we predicted all those games and we said never again after the bye.
We're done.
We got a Super Bowl out of it. And last year, if it wasn't for Tristan Wirfs and Godwin and AB, perhaps we have another one.
quitter.
So
Yeah.
we just quit.
Yeah.
Speaking of quitting, we
You know
quit
what?
kicking.
That's fair. And this is one of those games that could literally, I could literally make one prediction now and change my mind 3 times before Sunday. So that's fair. I thought we did, and I hope your viewers agree. I thought we did an outstanding job of breaking down the keys on both sides of the ball between the 3 of us.
Hey, real quick, because I'm in a pick'em league. I need some help with this.
Okay.
I'm looking at Kansas City, LA Chargers, and I'm leaning towards Kansas City only because Keenan the Whiner is out.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that Kansas City, when I look top to bottom and compare rosters, I'm thinking Kansas City on this one.
Well, it's at home too. That's the swinger.
It's at Kansas City.
Yep.
Okay. See, there's one thing I've learned about Thursday night games, unless there's a huge talent gap, you always go with the home team. I have the Chargers ultimately winning that division, barely over the Chiefs. But yeah, the Chiefs look really good in going to Arizona and beating a Cardinals team that at least made the playoffs last year, regardless of what you think of them now. I think Kansas City takes this one.
All right. Last but not least, and because this was an even bigger head scratcher for me, Cleveland Browns or the New York Jets.
No, Gene, you're taking the Browns. No, we got to ask Bob the real questions, which, Bob, I'm going to ask you about the NFC game of the week other than us. How this game is a 1:00 game, I'll never understand, Bob. But there's two teams that are on the rise. There's the Minnesota Vikings and there's the Philadelphia Eagles who play on Monday Night Football. Is Minnesota for real? And they're playing on the road against the Eagles.
Contenders or contenders?
We'll find out. Minnesota's defense really impressed me.
Yeah, they shot the hell out of me.
Yeah,
but is it Rodgers week 1 though? That's the only thing. I mean, Bob knows that better than the both of us.
Right.
So that's why it's like, can we believe it?
Right, and that is true. And Jalen Hurts is such a different quarterback. Because he's a running back. I like Philadelphia to win this game. Coming in, I thought Minnesota was. I didn't understand all the hype around Minnesota. I really didn't. I love their wide receivers. I absolutely love Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins is a joke to me, and I thought that it would take about a half season for that defense to come together. I call it the way I see it.
That's right. Yeah, Kurt.
Well, I knew Justin Jefferson was going to go off, but I didn't think the offense was going to go off.
Yeah.
Right, but I think Philly wins this game.
I cannot believe that guy. It's hard to watch Kurt, not my cousins.
Yeah, and
it was fun on Sunday though.
Right. Yeah, well, Kirk Cousins will always tease you with big performances out of nowhere. But when the game really counts, when the lights are on Monday Night Football, he traditionally plays very, very poorly. And I just think the Eagles have more talent, balanced talent on both sides of the football.
All right.
From a Falcon standpoint, before you go, Bob, are you a fan of Younghoe Koo?
Yeah, he's a heck of a kicker.
Yeah, I think all Bucs fans and now Saints fans can unite that the only Falcon, you can respect Cordell Patterson, sure, but Younghoe Koo is the most fun player on the Falcons to watch.
Remember his didn't he do like YouTube videos where he was doing trick kicks and stuff?
Was that him?
Yeah, I think so.
That makes me a bigger fan.
Why the fuck not?
Yeah, right.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Bob, thank you so much. Friend of the show, man. Glad you were able to come on. And hopefully we can have you on again for the return match as well. I would love to. I love your insight. Like I said, I follow you.
These teams will be very different, and who knows what things are going to look like next time around, though. That's the only thing. Who's contenders? Who's contending? Who's pretending? Who's injured? Who's not? Like, it's the next time we play is going to be a lot different storyline than right now.
So always is.
And I meant to ask you, so will Alvin Kamara's legal situation be held off until after the season? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I can almost guarantee that. Just because Kamara's legal team has kept saying that that Alvin is going to plead not guilty, and that's what's key. The hearing has been pushed back 3 or 4 times now, and now it sits at the end of October. If he stays with that not guilty plea, then this is only the first of what's going to be multiple hearings, right up to a possible jury trial. So those things don't happen like that. The NFL typically steps in after a legal situation has been resolved. So I think that they'll maintain that precedent in this case. So the only way Kamara does, he's going to get suspended, folks. But the legal process has to play out. If Alvin changes his mind, takes a plea deal, pleads no contest, something like that, then the NFL will step in. But based off what we're hearing, he's pleading not guilty. So he's not going to be touched until 2023 season.
Last one, Marcus May. Obviously, that one's a lot more recent. I saw Justin Evans playing. Did May even play in the game? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, May did. And the Saints are still running that 3 safety package. It's just Justin Evans is taking the place of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. May's DUI hearing has gotten pushed back yet again, but then he got himself into more trouble. He's going to be in court for a different charge. Basically a road rage incident without getting into the details. But again, it stands a pretty strong chance that he won't be suspended in 2022 as well.
Makes sense. Thank you,
Man.
Bob.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys.
Guys.
Hey, thanks a lot for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Great insight. I'm looking forward to
Thank
the
you.
game. We'll be following each other on Twitter, and I'll be checking in with you throughout the game, and we'll have some fun with this, my friend.
I won't be. I'll be a nervous wreck, just to be honest.
And
Like I said, man, I mean, if it's Atlanta, I'm a little bit more intense if it's Atlanta because I want them. I want the Bucs to score 60 on them, and
Right.
that kind of thing because that's just how much I dislike them. But I'll just be watching this game. It'll just be another game to me, and we'll
It's
go
never
back
just
and
another
forth as
game,
usual.
Gene. Nemesis, baby.
It is a nemesis. Ken and I usually don't check in with each other until after the game. Neither one of us go on social media during the game.
And
But
usually
yeah,
it's a DM too. Usually
Right.
it's a DM or something, or like a message at like 11 o'clock on a
Right.
Tuesday
I
when it's
may
not
just
relevant.
go out there and try to make some better gumbo than everybody in Louisiana has. That'll just be my goal right there. How about that?
Oh, that's tough to do, Gene. That's tough to do.
But yeah, guys, yeah, seriously, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, thank you for being a friend to me. Thank you for being a friend to our network.
course.
Yeah, I'm a nervous wreck when our teams play each other, but it's always great to get together with the two of you.
Yeah, man, you are a friend of the show. You're always welcome on. And guys, everybody in the chat, thank you so much. You're really appreciated. And we're going to go ahead and roll out of here. Everybody have a good night.